And your headphones. Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah, no, you're good, I think. You said you were good now. Aye. All right, Dave, I assume you can hear me. We're going to be going live here in about a minute or so. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you again. Buenas tardes, ladies and gentlemen. See, welcome back to the Next Step Show aquí con tu conservative New York. Just another beautiful day here in good old upstate New York. Yep, yep, yep. Hey, I was going through those national observance days, and guess what today is? It is, well, it's Johnny Appleseed Day, which I found to be pretty interesting because check this out. Johnny Appleseed, or the guy's real name, which is Johnny Chapman, right? Pioneered well, a lot of apple trees throughout this nation. Check this out. He was born in 1774. He died in 1845. But he planted, what did he do? Chapman was actually, he established over 1,200 acres of nurseries. Now, what I really found the fun fact, and this goes right along the show today, right? Because today we're going to take a little step back, see from the political talk that we've been doing, from Hocus Pocus's magic shows, or even what's happening at the federal level, right? Because como siempre, I try to bring you guests, I try to bring you information. Yep, not just to inform and educate, see, but to help you take those next steps. Hence the name of the show. See, that balance in faith, politics, and entrepreneurship, right? Pero Johnny Appleseed, right? He was an innovator, right? He was an environmentalist. He was a pioneer. I mean, listen, the guy was smart, right? Instead of going out and selling seeds, he started selling, well, saplings, which was quite interesting. Anywho, right, today I have the privilege of talking to a guy, right, who in his own right, has created his own apple orchards, right, has created his own wealth and has helped so many other people. See, my guest today, check this out, he's a 40 plus year entrepreneur at the young age of 22. So for you young people who say things like well, I can't because I'm so young. No, 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 no. Mira, at 22, this guy took a job with a startup software company, right? Stayed there 20 years and became part owner, all while building this organization into a global powerhouse. Yep, check that out, to the point. Yeah, to the point where he was able to take a step back, see, with his beautiful bride, and commission a sailboat and then head out in the south of France, see we're homeschooling their kids and traveling over 5,000 miles in the Mediterranean. I mean, I don't know about you, but to me, that's like, well, that's an American dream for many, right? That freedom, because that's true freedom, to choose what you want to do. So our guest today, yep, he's been planting his own seeds, right? He's been helping people grow their own apple orchards. So mira, it is my honor. Yep, it is my honor to introduce to you to my guest today. See, it's Señor David Greer. Señor Greer, thank you so much for joining me on the Next Step show today. Oh, absolutely. You know, I was going through your stuff and very well deserved introduction, sir. And like I said, you know, we've been talking a lot about politics. I mean, how can we not? There's so much going on in the world today that, you know, it's going to be nice today to just take a step back from all that stuff and talk about the importance of the entrepreneurship part of what we talk about on this show, sir. Yeah, can you imagine if more people spent more time talking about that though, or if well, anyways, David, if you don't mind, I like starting off the show by having my guests kind of share a little bit about themselves, but this is the catch, David. I'm not looking for you to share some bio that me or my guests can go read on your website. What I want to know is what made David Greer, what next steps took you to where you are today that you're qualified and able to speak on the topics we're talking about? Mhm. Right. Mm. Oh dear. Yeah, yeah, no cussing. This is a live show. Interesting. So, David, let me ask you real quick, if I may. I want to back up a little bit here too. You were 22 years old when you started with this company that you ended up helping grow and so forth, right? Now, you used terms just now like scaling. Most people don't know what that even means, other than cleaning a fish or some other things, right? Did you know that terminology at 22 years old, and what motivated you at 22 years old to even want to know what that meant? Hmm. Gotcha. Scaling problem, yep. Ladies and gentlemen, see on the teléfono, I have, see, an entrepreneur, pero mira, not just an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur. Mira, no cambie ese dial. Why? Because we got a lot more conversation to have here. And we're going to find out from him exactly what all that means and how we can apply it and make ourselves better leaders aquí. See? Mira, we'll be right back. No cambie ese dial. Here on the Voice of Liberty. No te vayas. Yeah. Sorry about that. I guess I should let people know that. Although I do put it out on podcast, David, but yeah, we're actually our reach goes down as far as Pennsylvania, most of upstate Western New York, and actually into Canada. How far exactly into Canada? I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, yeah. Um, Although it is. Oh, go ahead. Yep, 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 yep. Well, as soon as we come back in, you'll hear the intro or the bumping music. And then, yeah, we take 3 breaks. I think I put that in the email, yep. Um, and then we are in social media. However, I've had some issues with social media when when I'm going live at a studio, and so I gotta work on that. But anyways, how's everything up in Canada? Yeah, my brother every year, he and his wife was from Canada, up near, is it Newfoundland? I believe it's called. And so every year they would ride up there, and I remember I was a little guy. They brought me with them, and it's the first time I saw a moose. Amazing, amazing though. From New York, we hit the Niagara Falls, Toronto, those things. But hey, we're gonna go back on here in a minute. Hey, check this out, ladies and gentlemen, right? Isaiah 32, verse 8 says this, but the noble make noble plans, and by noble deeds they stand. How can you go wrong with words like that? See, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Next Step Show. See, on the teléfono yo tengo al señor David Greer, right? Today we are talking entrepreneurship. Dave, I want to ask you a quick question, if I can, and that has to do with entrepreneurship in general. One of the beliefs that I have, David, is, as individuals, we really need to start right off the bat working and building the corporation within ourselves, right? Before we can go out and really do anything else. Would you agree with that in any way? Hmm. Hmm. Let's dive into that a little bit if we can, because one of the things that I've learned, or at least I've seen in our area, is that a lot of businesses they struggle with direction, with that strategic plan. And I saw that a Harvard Business School study reported that culture does have a significant effect on an organization's long-term economic performance, right? Um, would you say, or that having clear strategy, clear purpose as an organization is essential for growth? I mean, right. Does an organization, when it comes to culture, does an organization have a culture that's kind of, or should have a culture that's kind of solidified? Meaning, when you come in there, you kind of assimilate to the culture, or should that culture shift based on kind of what's happening around them in the marketplace and so forth? Mhm. And it creates a level of liability that I don't think any employer really wants. I run a relatively large organization, and in hiring people, I'll take my time. And I've seen so many leaders just hire people because they need people. And I know that, like call centers, they'll hire, 3 or 4 thousand people when they only need 200. And within the year, they filtered out all those people to keep whatever was the best of all they hired. Um, so tell me, what differentiates a company that's thriving from one that kind of sits stagnant? Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. David, once upon a time, I was paid to consult with small business to help them identify why they were stagnant and help them take their next steps, right? And almost 9 times out of 10, I found that the obstacle was the manager or the leader or the owner. Dave, hang on there for a quick second. We're going to take a little longer break, right? Ladies and gentlemen, no te vayas. Sí, mira, go grab a drink. Va pa'l baño si necesita, pero don't change that dial. We'll be back right here on the Voice of Liberty. See? Ah, there we go. All right, we're going to be about 3 minutes or so, Dave. All right, and then as soon as you hear the music come back on, that means we're going to be going on within about 10 seconds or so. How are you feeling so far, sir? Good. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I usually when the music comes on, I wrap up and then I just kind of go into the outro and just speak to the listeners and so forth. Um, but no, actually, we're on our 382nd or something episode. And then I've only started putting it out as a podcast a few years ago and realized that there was some interest. So when I get a guest every once in a while that they don't realize we're actually a radio station that goes out. And but I'm pretty picky on the guests that I bring on, David. And when I think it's your assistant Saeed was his name. When he reached out and he sent a few and I went through the resume or through the different pitches. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I like to share. So um, okay. Is that any better? Okay, I wonder why it keeps doing it. All right. Yes. Yeah. You know, it took me a couple of months of working with this guy, and then I had a meeting with him, went out, had dinner, and and it wasn't that he was doing anything wrong per se that was stunting his growth. It's just that he wasn't letting, kind of like what you said, letting the employees kind of take charge with the creative part of the business. He wanted to do it all, and he struggled with that. So I mean, he ended up sending him to one of the Dale Carnegie classes to help him work through that. It was interesting because he's like, no, it's my company, it has to. I'm like, no, man, let your team do it. And today he's doing well. Yeah, yeah, yep, yep, yep. Yep. And that happened. So that and what was the other one? Oh, I love it. Total quality management. Yeah, TQM. I love watching employers, especially many, they'll roll out they're phenomenal ideas. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes on cost savings, being efficient, But one of the employees, as I was doing one of these assessments, one of the employees looks at me and says, "But he says it just every time we see that, it just means more work for us. So we'll go through the motions, and I'm going through that, and then they're wondering why they didn't see a huge savings." Thank you. Hey, I can't let a show go by without un poquito de conservative Nuyorican. See, what is that called? Wisdom. Check this out for today. I'm going to share this with you. In times of uncertainty, right? Those who adapt and lead with resilience not only weather the storm, but also chart new courses to success. See, welcome back to the Next Step Show, ladies and gentlemen. Aquí yo tengo on the teléfono. See, it's Senor David Greer, sir. Thank you again for staying with us. Yeah, absolutely. And we had some great conversation there during the break, David. And as we were going into break, I had talked about how once upon a time I was actually paid by these companies to come in and kind of figure out why they're stagnant. And kind of like we were sharing in break. A lot of the times the barrier or the stoppage is right there at the person that's leading it, and it's for a myriad of reasons, from control to, well, really lack of, how about this term, David? Emotional intelligence. Yes. Absolutely. David, can I get your opinion on this whole concept of the employee driven model, or even the other part to that, which is kind of founded in the servant leadership, the whole thing of leading from the back, letting your employees kind of take a role of leadership without the title kind of stuff? Do you have any opinion on any of that? Ah, mhm. Right. Yeah. I have one rule for well, I have many rules, but one of the rules I have for my employees is when you're going to come to me, and I think this is kind of common, I'm sure others have heard it. If you're going to come with a problem, you got to come with a solution, and then we'll work it. But just to throw a problem in my lap, that's not what I'm paying you to do. Yes. Yes. Let me ask you about accountability, sir. Do you believe that accountability should play a big factor both of the leader from employees and vice versa? Wonderful. So you have a book. I think you wrote a couple books, if I remember correctly, correct? Or at least one. Yeah. Well, congratulations. And the name of that book, or at least the one for entrepreneurs, I believe it's called Wind in Your Sails. It focuses on accelerating the entrepreneur growth. Can you share any takeaways from that book, sir? Things that, and not to obviously give away your book here, but what would encourage others or people to wanna read it? Mhm. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Which makes perfect sense. Hmm. That's interesting. You have a well, it's almost like a marriage, right? You got to continue to reinvent it and reinvigorate it, and remember it's about the other person. And in your business, you got to remember, in my opinion, it's always about that other person, whether it's your customer or an investor, any of the stakeholders. Oh, exactly. You mentioned, well, you didn't mention one of your chapters, which is you call it, I believe, people strategy. I have not seen that in any other, or at least not labeled that. And I noticed some of the titles, and I perused it a little bit, the book. But that was a pretty unique section, sir. No. Yep. And that's key to remember, even when doing B2B type of stuff. In your book, you mention thinking and talking big, right? Why is that important for leaders and even for employees? I mean, we hear that sometimes, and some other think big, go big, pray big, all that other stuff. But is there really realities to that? I mean, can you think your way into bigness? So true. Mhm. Well, 100%. And actually that there's even statistics to show that, where people would take it to that point of big success and then not be able to go. David, we got one more break to pay these bills. Mira, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, soy yo aquí, right? On the Voice of Liberty. No te olvide, WYSL, WLEA, WCKR. We're streaming. We're on all the social medias, including TikTok. Listen, right? Share, share, share. No te vayas. Uh, I don't disagree. I do like him, just not the one I'll turn on first. Although I just learned I didn't realize Rush was from Toronto. I didn't realize that for some reason. So, so interesting. Um, so when we get back, Dave, I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of other things I want to hit, but I did want to make sure we talked a little bit about the X Factor. I believe that was also in your book. Um, and then, Bob, we're going to have about 9 minutes when we get back, right? Okay. And then in the last 3 minutes, Dave, I'm going to ask you where people can buy your book, and then maybe some advice. I call it next steps advice for our listeners, if you don't mind giving that some thought. And then Bob will let me know. You'll hear him. He'll say we got 3 minutes. Ahí sí, un poquito de música que es muy bueno. Mira, check this out. In case you didn't know, research indicates that engaged companies, see, that means you, the leader in that company, outperforms disengaged leaders by 202%. Mira, you take that for what it's worth, pero if you're leading something, especially an organization or people, right? You may want to be listening today and share this podcast with some friends. See, because we've got, see, the master of entrepreneurs, see, el señor David Greer. David, is it okay that I refer to you as a master of entrepreneur? Wonderful, wonderful, and everything that I read, I thought kind of confirmed that as well. So I wanted to ask you, sir. Your book also refers to something called the X factor. Can you define what that is, and how entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs to be can use that in their starting phases? Right. Yep. And interesting. I'm sorry. I run a nonprofit housing program, and it's the same concept in the nonprofit world as well, David. And people don't realize that it's interesting because even though the goal, the outcome, isn't to double our money per se for our pockets. However, nonprofits following the same, the same concept that you're talking about, actually everything that we've talked about allows them to get to a point where they can check this out, David. Generate enough income to where they're no longer reliant on taxpayer dollars or grants. And there's many organizations with smart people running them that have been able to do that by providing a combination of services and something tangible at the end of whether it was work, whether it was something that the clients built, they tied it all together. No, it will. It will. Someday, if we ever have a talks on politics, though, I'll tell you at least how here in the United States, or at least here in New York, that's actually frowned upon. Yeah, another conversation, though, someday. The common sense show that we'll have one day. But I want to shift a little bit because you don't just focus on teaching people how to make money or teaching entrepreneurs how to start a business, how to deal. You're also work, if I understand correctly, with leaders that have been leaders but ran into some personal challenges themselves, like addiction to alcohol or drugs or so forth. What drew you to that particular focus? That seems almost somebody with a big heart, not focused on making money. Very nice. Congratulations to you, sir, because that is a humongous feat and something that many people struggle, today, people that I know. So congratulations to that. Absolutely. And if I may speak to the listeners here for a minute, I want to remind everybody, this is the honorable David Greer that I have in the phone who got into business, see at 22. And as he just shared, right, worked hard to not only overcome his addiction, but to share that with others so that, well, we can all work together and grow. David, on your book, see, Win in the Sales. Can you tell our listeners where they can find that book? Where they can buy it, download it? How can they get it? Very nice. That would probably be the one I get so busy these days that I drive so often that I started getting a lot of audiobooks these days. David, we've got a lot of people listening to this show. We go across upstate New York down into Pennsylvania. We're in 6 stations. We go into southern Canada. I like to end the show by asking our guests to share with all these people what I like to call next steps advice, be it for the entrepreneur, for the individual struggling with an addiction. Do you mind? Uh huh. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Honorable David Greer. See, check out his book, Wins in Your Sale. David, I appreciate your time. And like he said, ladies and gentlemen, ask for help. Mira, no te olvides, see, be a leader, be a leader, be a leader. Hasta mañana. And don't forget, God bless these United States of America. Thank you. Oh, yeah, yeah, he's going to cut us off. David, thank you so much for your time, sir. At Oh man, thank you for being a great host. I'll shoot you a copy of the show here shortly. Have a good day. Bye bye. Yep.